Bro, this is where things stop being simple power scaling debates. Because once you start talking about characters who surpass Gear 5 Luffy, you're no longer talking about strength. You're talking about authority over the world itself. Let's go through the top 5 characters who stand above Gear 5 Luffy. 5. Blackbeard Teach. Teach is not a normal opponent. He is a contradiction made into a man. The only pirate who carries darkness and nullification at the same time. People forget something important. Gear 5 is freedom, but Blackbeard fights freedom by removing it. He doesn't overpower your form, he cancels it. That's not a matchup problem, that's a system problem. Because how do you fight someone who can turn off what makes you special? Blackbeard doesn't need to be stronger than Luffy, he just needs Luffy to stop being Luffy. 4. Prince Loki and Ragnir, unstoppable in battle. Loki is not built like a normal fighter. Everything about him screams uncontrollable force, and Ragnir doesn't stabilize that force, it multiplies it. People are misunderstanding this combination. This is not a strong character with a weapon. This is a disaster that learned how to aim itself. Gear 5 fights with creativity and chaos, but Loki doesn't need creativity. His entire existence is already chaos. And when chaos meets chaos, the one who survives is the one with less control, not more power. 3. Shanks. Shanks doesn't fight like a man trying to prove anything. He fights like someone who already understands the outcome. That is the difference. Gear 5 Luffy bends reality through imagination, but Shanks bends outcomes through presence alone. The scary part is not his strength, it's how effortlessly he ends fights before they begin. You don't power up against Shanks. You realize too late that you already lost permission to fight, and that is a level Gear 5 has never dealt with yet. 4. Rocks D. Xebec. Xebec was not a pirate. He was an era that temporarily had a body. A man so dangerous the world had to rewrite itself after him. Even Roger and Garp together didn't erase him easily. That alone tells you everything. Gear 5 represents freedom of the body. Xebec represented freedom from the world entirely. He wasn't trying to win fights, he was trying to reshape the entire system of power. And characters like that don't scale normally, they collapse scaling itself. 1. Nerona Imu. This is where everything changes. Imu is not a fighter. Imu is the reason the world has structure in the first place. You don't scale Imu like a pirate, you scale pirates against Imu's existence. Gear 5 is freedom incarnate, but Imu represents authority that predates freedom itself. And that's the contradiction. Because how do you beat something that decides what winning even means? Every top tier in One Piece fights inside the system. Imu is above the system. So the real question isn't whether Luffy surpasses Imu, it's whether Gear 5 is even operating on the same level of reality. And that's the whole point. Gear 5 is not weak, it's one of the most broken abilities in the story. But there are levels in One Piece where strength is no longer the deciding factor, where fights become ideology, authority, and existence itself. So when people say Luffy beats everyone, they're not wrong about his potential, they're just early. Because in One Piece, the strongest thing isn't always the freest, and the freest thing isn't always the winner.